What are the main differences between the Spirit C1 from Crusader and the Zeus Mark II CL from RSI? We now have access to both the Zeus CL and ES in Wave 5 PTU for Alpha 3.24.2. Great new ship from RSI. It's a new medium, or we'll call it a small medium, and as many of you will know, there isn't really a better ship. Most of the ships that come out in Star Citizen are sort of stacked rock, paper, scissors style. This one's better than this one, but worse than this one, and they balance out in some way. So it's hard to decide when you're getting a new ship, pledged or in-game, with your money. The closest comparison to the Zeus CL is the Spirit C1, which is why I've broken it out. However, this conversation could be about the ES versus the Cutlass Black or the Freelancer Dur. They will all have pluses and minuses. I'm going to go over a few of those now, and hopefully they help you. We're going to talk about design, speed maneuverability, armor and armament, price, cargo, and amenities. The first thing you'll notice when you walk into the C1 Spirit, which many of you will have seen before, is easy access to components and a large spacious cargo bay. The cargo bay is going to be easier to use on the C1 compared to the CL, even though the CL has a larger cargo capacity on paper via autoloading. If you're loading it yourself, you'll find it quite difficult, and I'll show you why in a few minutes. But nice big cargo bay. The Crusader lineup is designed mainly for military and humanitarian needs, and so they typically are very simple, very bare bones, very fast, very well armored, which is exactly what this ship is. The rest of your components are here. It is worth noting that the C1 and the rest of the Spirit lineup do come with military components stock, meaning that you have a slight advantage in your setup when you start out fresh in the game versus something like the Zeus. 2 suit lockers for the 2 crew, weapons, racks for 2 people, and tools, small bathroom, space for a fire extinguisher, which are now in game. You have a food processor, water, fridge, none of which is functioning yet, but it's good to know you'll have it. Storage above the bunks for 2 crew, and the bridge. C1 has excessive armor compared to the Zeus CL. It also blows it out of the water when it comes to speed, and pilot DPS. More firepower, more speed, more armor, easier to access cargo, easier to park a vehicle, and I am personally a big fan of the layout. It's simple, it's bare bones, it's utilitarian, and on the exterior, it's a great looking ship. I apologize for the snowstorm that's going on. I've tried to record this 3 times. I've had all kinds of issues, so you can deal with a bit of snow in the background. Beautiful ship. Downsides to the design, it's a little bit too wide. It's sort of MSR width in size, but besides that, beautiful ship, very convenient. You'll notice the tractor beam mounted on the roof, comes down, great placement, works really well for loading your cargo, nice and simple. 4 size 3s for the pilot, makes it great for defensible combat. It has 1.2 million in the new quantum fuel metrics, which makes it have decent traversal abilities. It can cross Stanton very easily, should be able to travel between the jump gate and the major stations in Pyro, but it's not an explorer and it's not designed for that. Now, moving over to its new direct competitor, the Zeus Mark II CL from Robert Space Industries. Not to be confused with the manufacturer of this game, but the ship manufacturer in the game. You'll notice right away that its cargo bay has more height to it, and inside it actually has more width to it. However, the size of the door and the placing of the components make it very difficult to actually get 128 cargo into the ship. You can put that much in, it is possible. You can have the station load it for you as well, if you want to be very simple. But loading it yourself to have room to kind of move around if you choose to go in the back door, because it has more entries, you're probably not going to put 128 in this thing all the time. It turns into a game of Tetris, okay? First of 2 weapons racks is here. I love the placement of this in the Zeus. This is only in the Zeus CL. In the ES, it's in a different spot. We'll talk about that in a different video. Otherwise, very simple cargo bay. We're going to move through into the habitation area. On the right-hand side, you have a small kitchen, eating area. These fridges do not come stocked yet. My hope is they do in the future. I'm hoping we can ask the station to stock them, and the Redeemer and the Carrack and the ships that have fridges for us. But for now, if you want to use these fridges, you're manually loading them. water taps, little food processor. As these things come online with exploration, this will be a great little kitchen. It's a bit claustrophobic. It doesn't have the spacious feel of the C1, but it is more homey. Roleplay wise, I look at the C1 as a strike ship, a courier, rapid response, dropping off supplies in dangerous areas and getting out as quickly as possible. Whereas the Zeus is a ship that you would live on. You and your crew would have your quarters, have your kitchen. It's just a much more homey feel. Storage lockers here, similar to above the bunks in the C1, conveniently placed for 3 crew. Lots of space, lots of storage. These are not opening suit lockers. These are inventory access. Individual for each locker. So once crew bed logging comes back online for the game, you would pick a locker. Mine's the one on the left, middle, or right. Pick a bunk, and your crew could be living on your ship. Small bathroom. The ES has a slightly different space in here. It goes further back, and there's like a little seating area, a little lounge, but nice and convenient on this thing. As we move up the hallway, you get another airlock. This is important now that venting air matters in the game, so everything is closed off. Cargo, habitation, I will call this technical, and bridge all have their own little sealed door, so you can vent air where needed. The C1 does not have that. It really only has the 3 sections. Engineering terminal is in. That's coming soon. You have a second entrance. This is so key for this ship and what sets it apart from the C1. The C1 has all its perks I talked about, but a second and actually third entry, as well as the much smaller footprint, are going to stand out to you here. You have 3 proper suit lockers. They have a great RSI design. Looks like it's magnetic. We'll find out when these come online, but I think it's great looking. You'll notice something looking around me as this is a new ship. You see this haze, the weather's coming through. This is not permanent. This is probably a PTU thing. It might carry into live. This is not how the ship should look. This is just a bug with a brand new ship in PTU. More weapons lockers. Cool thing to note about this is that the Zeus, being a newer gold standard ship, does have a slot for a larger weapon, like a rocket launcher or a railgun. And their weapons racks are awesome. 3 rifles, 3 pistols, 3 tools. Great layout. Beautiful gold standard ship. You got 3 seats, co-pilot, gunner. Gunner controls 2 sides, 3s in the bottom with a fantastic arc. And the pilot. This one's not mine, but when my crew member's falling, lent me his. And you'll notice, looking at the outside of the ship, again, I apologize for the weather out here. It has the concierge paint on it that matches the concierge paint on the Spirit that is parked beside it. Black, gray, gold accents. Makes it look fantastic. The CL stock has like a blue and yellow paint to it. I'm not a fan. The ES is white and black. I think it looks nicer. I think this is a really nice paint job on this though. The pilot has 2 size 4s, meaning that you have less pilot firepower than the C1, but you do have more crew firepower. And you have the co-pilot seat who can control the tractor beam on the roof. So much like the C1, there's a tractor beam. Last thing to look at on this is the exterior exit. There is also an airlock exit, very different from the C1. Convenient access to the roof. Nice entry in EVA. Doesn't feel particularly necessary, but I love it. I think it's really well designed. Makes me excited for the future of RSI ships. The talking points on this would be the fact that it has quite a bit more fuel than the other ships in this lineup. Right now, the ES only has about 300,000 more fuel in the new metrics than the C1, but it is meant to have 2 medium quantum fuel tanks, so my guess is that's going to go up fairly high, but it can easily cross Stanton, so it does have more range. It will eventually have the exploration scanners on the ES variant. On the CL variant, you'll still have more fuel than the C1. You won't quite have the same as the ES that I'm mentioning, but still, more fuel, more cargo, more entries and exits, more crew capacity, a stronger tractor beam, and it is worth noting much, much less armor. So when people say which is better, it really comes down to your playstyle. C1 is going to be faster, better armored, better survivability. It's going to get in and out quicker and in a bit more secure way. The CL, and by extension the ES, are going to go further, and the CL will carry more. But with much less armor, you are relying on that co-pilot and gunner turret because you're going to have to defend yourself. Whereas in the C1, you don't really have to. You just punch it and you're gone. That's my main thoughts on these 2 ships. Which one would I get? I own the C1. I know a lot of people are going for the Zeus. It is a bit more expensive. They're doing an upgrade. Personally, I'm going to stick with my fast, heavily armored, we'll call it military courier. But the Zeus is a beautiful ship. We are going to do a comparison later this week or this weekend. We're going to compare the Zeus ES. Closest competitor is probably the Freelancer Dur or even the Cutlass Black. So we'll look at the lineup together and kind of see where they stand. I can't give you a recommendation on which one to get for you though. All I'll say is anybody who's telling you one is better than the other, they're not giving you the honest answer. Neither is better than the other. The only way that I can see that the Zeus is better, subjectively, is it is a new gold standard ship, which means it has a more polished design and is more indicative of the future of these ships. But all of the other ships in this weight class are being brought up to that specification. So the Spirit will kind of get passed over again. The Cutlass definitely will get passed over again. The Freelancer definitely will get passed over again. And so they will eventually kind of come into line with what you're seeing here design-wise. That's that. I will do a comparison of the ES and its direct competitors in the next couple of days. I will also do a separate video, because this one's stretched on a little bit, of the combat capabilities. Keep in mind, none of these are fighters, but we will do a little test video of how they stack up in survivability and defensibility. But for now, go ahead and do the whole comment thing. Which one are you going to go with? Do you have both? Do you have neither? Are you going to buy one in-game? Do you like the design of one better than the other? Do you think one of them's ugly? Anything you comment helps me out, so that's great. If you want to talk more about these ships or fly together in the PTU or the PU, you can always go to the link in my YouTube. You can join our Discord. We can all hang out and fly together. Till the next one, fly safe. I'll see you guys in the verse.